So I will not be on my own today for moderating the session. Once in a while, a girl gets lucky to have a co-moderator that is not only an academic, but also a chief science officer of the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And he is also the special professor of international trade and development cooperation at Radboud University in the Netherlands. Please welcome my co-moderator, Professor Dirk John Koch. Dirk, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Andini. Great to be here together with you. And I think all this started actually with the state visit of our king to Indonesia in March 2020. And I think there everybody agreed that we need to collaborate more in the field of science, and especially because we all pledged to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. And to be able to do that, we need to turn this knowledge that we all have together into practice. So therefore, we're all together here today. This is an initiative which was started by the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, LIPI, together with the Dutch Embassy in Jakarta and the VIGNESO and the Indonesian Academy of Young Scientists. Also, the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences contributed, and the Dutch Research Council. So, dear participants, you've met Andini, you know me a little bit by now, but we would like to get to know you as well a bit. Therefore, we will start with a poll to know who we actually have in the audience. And you will see over the coming hour, we'll have a very interactive session. And this is the first part of the interaction. So I would like you to open the Menti, if that's possible, menti.com. You'll see it on your screen, the codes, if all is well. And you can fill in the codes. Menti.com, please browse to menti.com and use the code 2885774. It would be great if we can project it on the screen. So let's go to menti.com 2885774. Excellent. I hope.
What are the questions, Dirk? What are the questions for the participants?
Yes, so the questions, there you go. The first question is, which country are you located in? So do people see that on the screen, that question?
I think they do. It's not open for voting, yeah.
And I don't see the results yet, but I guess we'll see them at the end. And we move on to the next one. Which of the SDGs do you wish to contribute to?
That's important.
Yeah, definitely. You have to select one or two. You see it on the screen where people would like to contribute to. Health is really on the top of the chart. I see energy.
Education as well. Okay.
Food security, climate change. Wow, many things going on there. There's so many topics to collaborate on, that's for sure.
That's good. That's a good start. And then what else? The question that may arise.
The last question is, what is your current mood? So curious to hear that.
Hopefully not help. Help, I cannot navigate this test. Hopefully it's not that. Very well.
Are people a bit happy, Andini, or not? Do we need to send
I think they'll be excited or happy. Well, it's afternoon in Jakarta, so they would like to nap, I guess, you know, but hopefully they'll be excited to hear the conversations that we will have this afternoon. But Dirk, before you introduce the ministers who has been here with us, this afternoon, I would like to ask the participants to kindly submit the questions only in the Q&A box, not on the chat box. Again, participants can only submit the questions on the Q&A box. Please mention your name and your affiliation. Make it short and compact to your questions, and we will integrate your question to the flow of discussion this afternoon. Dirk, go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I think without further ado, it's now time for us to introduce the two keynote speakers of this morning. And let me introduce our first minister, Mr. Bambang Brodjonegoro, Minister for Research, Technology and Innovation of Indonesia. And he holds a Ph.D. In regional and urban planning, and he started his career as an academic at the University of Indonesia. And he's an economist by profession, and he became Minister of Finance and later Minister of National Development Planning and head of the National Planning Agency, Bappenas. And since October 2019, he took on this role as Minister for Research, Technology and the head of the National Research and Innovation Agency. Yeah, I just hope that one day that my list of publications will be as long as his list of publications, and the number of awards that he has is just amazing. But the most important thing for us is that he loves science and education, and that's what we need today. So
exactly.
we really have such a passionate scholar with us.
Yeah, we need more scientists. I'm very much excited to introduce the minister from the Netherlands. It's Madam Ingrid van Engelshoven. I hope I pronounce it correctly. She is the Minister for Education and Culture of the Netherlands. Minister van Engelshoven graduated in law from the University of Leiden. Minister van Engelshoven then worked as a lawyer and advisor to the Netherlands Bar Association and was the head of strategy in the Ministry of Transportation, Public Works and Water Management. Meanwhile, she served as chair for the Democrat 66 or D66 Parliamentary Party. From 2010 to 2017, she joined the government of the city of The Hague. As a councillor, she was responsible for public services, the knowledge of economy, education, and youth services. In 2017, she was elected as a member of parliament and subsequently appointed as Minister of Education and Culture. Now, I would like we should listen to the first keynote speaker, is Pak Bambang Brodjonegoro, and then continue with Madam Ingrid. Pak Bambang, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ibu Andini and Professor Dirk Koch for the introduction. Very good afternoon for Indonesian colleagues, and of course, very good morning for our friends in Netherlands. Excellency, Madam Ingrid van Engelshoven, Minister of Education, Culture and Science, Kingdom of Netherlands. All the respectable speakers, Professor Bernard Lucas Ferringa from University of Groningen, as well as, of course, 2016 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. And then Professor Dr. Daniel Mudiarso from Bogor Agriculture University, and also principal scientist at C4. The Ambassador of Netherlands to Indonesia, Chairman of Indonesia Institute of Sciences, LIPI, representative from Nuffic NESO, Indonesian Academy of Young Scientists, Royal Netherlands Academy of Art and Sciences, and the Dutch Research Council, the committee, and distinguished participants. I'm very much delighted to address this distinguished forum. May also take opportunity to express my gratitude and appreciation to our beloved friend, Madam Ingrid van Engelshoven, Netherlands Minister of Education, Culture and Science. The relation between Indonesia and Netherlands dates back years ago. It appears useful to draw a lesson from the development in both nations' mutual history in order to maintain and deepen the ties and cooperation in the years to come. There are many historical ties between us, but we are also forging many new ties. The relationship between Indonesia and Netherlands is very intensive and covers a lot of area. This is a manifestation of the comprehensive partnership between the two countries. At present, relation and cooperation between Indonesia and Netherlands have been moving in a favorable direction. It is very encouraging to note that not only in the political and economic fields, but also in areas such as education, science, technology, and innovation, substantial progress has been made. One of these big events of the cooperation in science, technology, and innovation is the Week of Indonesia-Netherlands Education and Research, or WINER. It is an initiative by the Dutch Embassy in Jakarta, NUVIC-NESO, the Indonesia Institute of Sciences, or LIPI, Royal Netherlands Academy of Art and Science, KNAW, the Dutch Research Council, NWO, and Indonesian Academy of Young Scientists, or AMI. Indonesia and Netherlands share a long history of collaboration in research and education. The aim of WINER is to celebrate, strengthen, and expand this collaboration. The intention is for WINER to become a yearly recurring event where researchers, policymakers, and societal stakeholders from Indonesia and the Netherlands are invited to present results from research, discuss how to strengthen collaboration in research and education, identify mutual priorities, sharing best practices, and making new connections. The overarching theme for this first edition of WINER is achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, from knowledge to practice. The event will take place in an online format from 24 to 26 November 2020. WINER will discuss related topics like health, biodiversity, renewable energy, culture, rule of law, water management, and climate change adaptation from interdisciplinary perspective, science, education, cooperation, and policy. Research collaboration is one of the fundamental mechanisms in promoting cooperation, innovation, alliances, and greater collegiality between institution and organization. The opportunity and the ease of connectivity can encourage collaboration to manage crises and problems faced by society in such a better way. However, the effective international collaboration also presents its own challenges. What can we learn from each other, and how can we make the most of our collaborations, especially for students and young researchers? Ladies and gentlemen, Excellency Minister, currently, strategic partnership in science and innovation policy emerges as a critical role. As known, Indonesia and Netherlands have long-standing cultural and historical ties. By seeking smart solutions for a sustainable future, both countries are keen to reinforce their future-oriented cooperation to solve the world problems primarily through science. It is also interesting to point out that cooperation in educational and cultural fields has been expanding. An increasing exchange of students and closer cooperation between Dutch and Indonesian universities are the order of the day. A personal approach to the relation is of crucial importance in the development of the bilateral relation between the two nations. To this end, personal contact between our two peoples should be enhanced and deepened. These personal contacts are indeed very important to strengthen the ties between the Dutch people and Indonesians. Needless to say, there are a number of Dutch people and Indonesians who have personal and close linkage and affinity relationship, which should serve as a solid foundation for enhancing bilateral cooperation. Today, in this event, there are many young people present here. I find that encouraging. It gives me confidence that our two countries can look forward to a shared future full of promise. There are many opportunities for us to deepen our friendship and collaboration even further. Our relationship should be forward-looking. It should be on an equal partnership. We should build on our common past, not to be hostage to it. To all participants, I wish you all a fruitful meeting, and let's raise a glass to the ties that bind us and to the future success of our country's partnership. Last but not least, I would like to appreciate in particular the Indonesian side, LIPI and ALMI for their initiative to conduct this important program with our Netherlands partner. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brodjonegoro. That was very interesting and good to hear. And I see that there's already a first question or a couple of questions in the Q&As, but we will turn to that after the second speech. Andini?
Madam Ingrid, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone listening in Indonesia, and good morning to all those listening in the Netherlands. And thank you, Minister Brodjonegoro, for your kind words. And thank you for co-hosting this digital winner event. Organizing virtual conferences is challenging and involves a lot of extra work. So thanks to everyone in the Netherlands and Indonesia who made this possible. Thank you so much. And as I understood, more than 1,500 people signed up for Winner, and I hope that all of them are with us right now online. Even though I can't see you all, I can feel your presence and I can feel the energy in the discussions to come. And before we move on to our conversation and Q&A, I'd like to say a few words. At the invitation of President Joko Widodo, King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima paid a state visit to the Republic of Indonesia in March this year. The visit reaffirmed the broad and close relationship between our two countries. The main focus was on future cooperation, including in the fields of education, science and culture. The Winner agenda shows that our two countries are already working together on many of the major challenges of our time, summarized in the SDGs, like climate change, biodiversity, renewable energy, the circular economy and accountable institutions. The Winner program also shows that collaboration with the private sector has increased and businesses are playing an important role. And we all realize the strategic importance of knowledge diplomacy. Indonesia is the gateway to Southeast Asia, and the Netherlands is the gateway to Europe. So helping each other serves our common interests. I'd like to conclude by saying that this event is a great opportunity for us to share knowledge and learn from each other's excellent researchers. Winner gives us a chance to celebrate our collaboration and discuss what we need to focus in the years to come. Let's learn from each other so that Indonesia and the Netherlands can both be the winners. Thank you very much and stay safe and have a beautiful conference.
Thank you, Minister van Engelshoven and Minister Brodjonegoro. Terima kasih banyak. I would like to remind all the participants again. You can ask questions to both ministers. We have a very short time for discussion with both ministers. Tapi sekali lagi, I will speak in bahasa buat partisipan dalam yang menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Sekali lagi mohon ditulis di dalam Q&A box, bukan di dalam chat box. And then we will read out your questions. Please write your name and your short question, and then we will deliver it to the speakers. So Dirk, you can go ahead. We have a bit of a time with both ministers here.
Great. Yeah, let me start then while people are filling in their Q&A questions. And both ministers in their speech said that it's so important that there is a collaboration in research and education between the two countries. But I would like to ask both ministers to go a bit more specific. What do they mean when they talk about collaboration? How should we envision that? Who would like to answer to that question? Who of the ministers?
Okay, maybe I can start. For me, the need of international research collaboration, I think, should be at the top priority in order to improve the research and, of course, technology performance in Indonesia. And the reason why we need to have international collaboration, first from the university side, Indonesian universities, our ranking now globally still the best according to QS World Ranking was only ranked 296. So it's quite low for the size of Indonesia. And don't forget, Indonesia is the fourth largest country in terms of population and 16th largest in terms of GDP in economy. So with that kind of size, we need to speed up, we need to accelerate the quality of our university. And one of the area is to strengthen international collaboration. And of course, Dutch universities are very much well known in Indonesia. And according to our experience, even when I was still at University of Indonesia, it is much easier to make contact with not only Dutch universities, but also Dutch professors individually when we are trying to propose for research collaboration. So I believe this event should be made, as I mentioned in my speech, recurring every year. So intensity of relationship between institution in Indonesia and institution in Netherlands in research activities, including technology and innovation, should be much more enhanced. So that's why this is the real intention why winner should be one of the initiative, one of a very good initiative that needs to be supported. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as you point out, indeed, Indonesia is a G20 country. So we also need to have, your universities also need to be G20 universities. That's clear. And let's see if we can collaborate on that. Minister Ingrid van Engelshoven, could you also become a bit more specific what you mean with this collaboration? How should it look like? How should we envision it?
Well, Indonesia is one of the countries that is being valued very much, and we are lucky to be able to work so closely with Indonesia, both in higher education and in science. Because what we see is that Indonesia is developing rapidly and has achieved a lot in a short time. So that's quite impressive. And we all know that international cooperation in science is key. To keep a high level of quality, we need international cooperation and bring together the best people, the best ideas, and the best facilities. And our collaboration should be based on reciprocity, mutual respect. And I think in both countries we value academic freedom, and we find ways to acknowledge and recognize the work of academics. We have the ambition to have diversity and inclusion in our universities, but we're also aware of the possible risk in international cooperation in science. But with the Indonesian government, we share a lot of these values, and that makes it very interesting to work together because only by international cooperation we can keep up our high level of quality. And what we've seen in Indonesia is in their rapid development is very impressive, and we like to be part of that development. Thank you.
I would like to ask both ministers, as you see earlier, that a lot of participants put on which SDG priorities that they think it should be elaborate for the international cooperation between both countries. So in your point of view, which sector should be a priority, especially during this pandemic and we have economical crisis? Which sector should we prioritize to collaborate further, Bambang and Madam Ingrid?
Maybe Minister Ingrid, you want to answer?
Yes, thank you. And surely in these days, we all look at medical research, health and quality of life. In this pandemic, these are very important areas of research. But if I look at areas where we really can cooperate and have added value if we work together is when it comes to resilience of societies and cities when it comes to regional planning and sustainable urbanization. I think the Netherlands can learn a lot from, certainly with climate change going on, can learn a lot from Indonesia and vice versa. Of course, climate issues and biodiversity, sustainable energies are certainly areas where we should work together. Democratization, law and justice for me are important areas to work together. And of course, agriculture, food security, hydrology and water management. I think these are all the areas very closely linked also to the SDGs, where there is could be enormous value in working together between Indonesia and the Netherlands.
Yeah, I believe the message from Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 goals, are quite clear. We can only ensure sustainability if we can develop economic aspect, social aspect, and environmental aspects in a balanced way. So we need to maintain the balance among those three important components. And regarding this current situation of the pandemic, of course, health and education will always be on the top, especially now health. Usually people talking more about education than health, but today we need to talk more about health compared to education. However, those two are at the similar importance, but at the same time, we cannot deny that the role of economic activities are very important. People might be safe from, the virus, the COVID-19 virus, but they might not survive if they don't have their income generation cut. So it means we have to really maintain this economic and social aspect very well. And at the same time, actually, this pandemic helped us to deal with environmental in a better way, at least with less activities, from less economic activities. Then we can see, for example, cleaner air and also a better environmental condition. So combining those three, economic aspect, social aspect, and environmental aspect, we can learn from each other. How can Netherlands maintain the balance among the three, and how Indonesia also should try to balance among the three? Because sometimes there are, complaints that government leads more to economy, while actually we are trying very hard, to contain the virus itself. But we know containing virus is not an easy one. So that's why the activities, research in medicine, research in vaccine, for example, should be one of the areas for closer cooperation between the two countries. Thank you.
Well, thanks to both of you for your responses, and there's quite a lot of Q&As in the Q&A section, and some are a bit too specific for the ministers, but our teams will respond to those questions, and we will filter the most relevant ones out for you. In the meantime, we see that the relationship between Indonesia and the Netherlands is changing, right? I think it's this year that official development assistance is officially ending from the Netherlands to Indonesia. So the terms of the collaboration are changing, right? We're going to be on a more equal footing, which is great. And I'm just wondering, what are your views on what this would mean for science and research collaboration now the area of official development assistance is over?
Yeah, I think for joint science and research collaboration between the two countries, I believe one area that I know very well, Indonesia and Netherlands have similar interests, actually in social science and humanities. I believe this is the area in which Indonesia and Netherlands can really build up a strong research and science collaboration, social science and humanity. And then followed by, I believe, the infrastructure. Research on infrastructure, I believe it's important because we have to be fair that part of infrastructure in Indonesia was originally built by the Dutch. And then if you look at the design of Jakarta, for example, the northern part of Jakarta, really copying, a city on the coast in Netherlands, because we are almost in a similar situation in which there is a tendency of increasing the flood from the ocean. And this is the area in which Indonesia can learn from Netherlands. And then in social and humanities, I believe we can work together. So we can come up with a high quality of research in the area of, again, social and humanity. Thank you. Yeah.
Minister van Engelshoven, do you have something to add on this changing partnership?
Well, I think it's good that we realize that there is also in science and in society a lot we can learn from in Indonesia. If I think on areas as climate change, but also rural and urban related health challenges, there's a lot in the Indonesian society where we as a Dutch society can learn from. We see that we have increasingly warm summers and winters, and how to deal with infectious diseases related to warmer climate, how to deal with, for example, mosquitoes who transmit diseases. So there's a lot of areas where the Indonesian country has where Indonesia has much more experience with in their society and how to deal with it in society than the Netherlands have. And I think we should look at that with an open mind and try to learn from that. So I think apart from the areas my colleague mentions, these are areas I would like to add.
Thanks. Minister van Engelshoven, you previously worked at the local government level, right? And one of the questions from the audience relates to that, They ask, okay, it's nice that you're talking about this bilateral collaboration, but how about the role of local governments? Can sister city cooperation be part of a bilateral research cooperation so that you have different cities, for instance, collaborating with each other?
Yes, that is certainly possible. And when I was an alderman in the city of The Hague, I was also responsible for international relations of the city. And what we did, for example, because The Hague is an important city when it comes to the rule of law and justice, is also working together with cities around the world to strengthen the ties. We also did on, for example, science when it comes to cyber security and connecting ecosystems in science. You always need ecosystems where education, science, and the business community work together to improve the quality of science and also innovation. And connecting ecosystems in the Netherlands with ecosystems abroad goes from city to city. So yes, we also should enhance relationships between cities in the Netherlands and in Indonesia. And with my local experience, I'm also always happy to help.
I have a question also for Pak Bambang. Same question, but different angle. Pak Bambang, as we know, we're talking about SDG, and then we want to implement it in all over Indonesia, and we deal with the local government. As we know that the understanding of the local government has a different level, right? And then now with the pandemic, with the economic crisis, I guess their priorities also change. If we want to do this bilateral cooperation, this international collaboration, should we pick and choose which local government will be relevant for this project, for this program, I guess, to make it more productive and efficient in terms of the result?
Yeah, I would say that the role of local government in Indonesia now becomes much more powerful than, of course, 20 years ago. Now, for example, dealing with the pandemic, every local government can make their own decision, their own policy to deal with the pandemic. This thing cannot happen prior to 2000, because at that time they don't have that kind of autonomous power. So looking at the possible research collaboration, there are some points I would like to make. Number one, I believe we need to increase our attention to the urban area. Why urban area? I think number one, because Indonesia is already an urbanized country. More than 50% our population now live in urban area. Number two, looking at the pandemic situation, I think pandemic really hits hard on the area with high density of population compared to the area that has a small number of population. It means the way we look, analyze, and manage urban area needs to be different with the way we manage urban area before. If before we just look urban area from administrative point of view, now we need to look urban area more from the economic analysis, economic point of view, as well as looking at the coverage of the basic services. So the idea is not only you're talking about Jakarta government separately with Bogor, with Tangerang, with Bekasi, but how can we make the greater Jakarta metropolitan area that will coordinate all the efforts, all the policies in order to maintain and manage the city in a good shape. Otherwise, every local government has their own decision and they might contradict to each other, and of course it won't benefit the local residents. That's point number one. Point number two, I think this is the time for us, especially for colleagues in many science or research areas, how we can promote the circular economy. Circular economy, I believe, is a good solution to deal with the achievement of SDGs, because it can tackle the issue of the environment for sure, because we are trying to make economy not linear but circular, so there is no waste. Any waste produced will be reproduced or recycled or changed into another form. For example, waste to energy. So environmental point is okay. Social point, because then it will create social cohesion, because people will work together to make sure circular economy activity work. And third, and sometimes the most challenging one, is the economic feasibility, because circular economy will generate, I think, feasible economic activities that will be interests of business practitioners, entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprise, even the big companies. So I believe circular economy should be one of the main topics to be discussed between Indonesian researchers and the Netherlands side.
That's very interesting. Yeah, circular economy is pretty much like the heavy topic right now. We're talking to like the ones who care about the environment, but it's better, I guess, for the future of Indonesia. We have a question. This is from Rainer van Hoven from MOFA, DSO. How do you see the interlinkages between social science and humanities and infrastructure? This question is for both minister. I would like to ask Madam Ingrid first. Please go ahead.
Yes, this relationship is important, and it's not only between the social sciences and infrastructure, but also one thing we learned also in the Netherlands from this pandemic is that also what we see when it comes to solutions for the corona crisis, we learned that we can't do it without the social sciences and the behavioral sciences on board. And also when it comes to city planning, infrastructure, you always need to relate it to the social sciences, behavioral sciences, because planning is one thing, but making people to act according to what we planned is another question. And both have to go hand in hand. And what we learned from, well, mistakes we made in the past is that we did the planning first and then looked at behavioral sciences and got them on board. But it has to go hand in hand, and we have to do it in a multidisciplinary way from the start, and we have to do it from the start of all the planning. So, and also in research, this has to go hand in hand. And I think in this crisis, we learned that quite hard-handed. So lesson taken, and very, very important to connect these sciences closely together.
Yeah.
Pak Bambang, silakan.
Yeah. Infrastructure is built to fulfill the basic needs of society or basic needs of the community. So when the community, for example, needs to do a lot of transportation activities, to do their jobs, to do schooling, and to do any other activities, then of course you have to provide the road infrastructure as well as the public transportation. Those are the type of infrastructure needed for these basic needs of traveling from one place to the other. However, during the pandemic, this social science and humanity tell us now they cannot act as, you know, the society like they are before. Why? Because we cannot do too much, you know, crowd. We have to avoid the gathering, and as a result, we have to depend a lot on virtual communication, like what we are doing right now. So suddenly, the so-called basic infrastructure shifted from roads, public transportation, maybe energy, water, and sanitation. Suddenly, we have to add one more basic infrastructure needs, which is telecommunication infrastructure, or in more general, ICT infrastructure, information communication technology. And we realize in Indonesia, even just to fulfill the online education, we are behind in terms of this ICT infrastructure, meaning that until now, we haven't realized that this ICT infrastructure is one of the very basic needs. So the way we learn our society that everything has to be done in a physical contact with face-to-face meeting. Now we have to face less contact society, meaning that we have to use as much as possible the so-called ICT infrastructure in order to carry out all the activities, education, health, including retail activities, business negotiation, and of course, this type of conference or seminar like this. So I believe that's how infrastructure can be linked to social science and humanity.
Yeah, and we discussed it, I guess, a week ago, Pak Bambang, regarding the how can we help the small, micro, medium business by improving the technology, Internet of Things. Dirk, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's very nice to see the Q&A where people are not just from Indonesia and the Netherlands, but also Indonesians which are working in different countries. Everybody is tuned in, so it's really a global seminar, I would say. And we cannot answer all your questions, but there's just one that I would like to take, which relates to successful examples. Successful examples, they inspire us. And I was wondering if either of you already has an example of Dutch-Indonesian collaboration in the field of sciences or social sciences that you say, yeah, this is an example. We can learn from this.
Yeah, maybe from my experience when I was the Dean of the Faculty of Economics, University of Indonesia, at that time, actually, I was the first Dean of our faculty that built joint double degree bachelor with some Dutch universities. Now I think we have U.P, University van Amsterdam, Tilburg, and Groningen as a partner of University of Indonesia Faculty of Economics. And it becomes very popular. And actually, I just realized that there is enthusiasm, high enthusiasm for Indonesians to know more about the Netherlands, to know more about the culture, society, And also, when I expand the program not only at the bachelor level, but also master and PhD level, then we can establish, I think, a good research collaboration in economics between my faculty at that time at University of Indonesia and Groningen University. And the result that we have been able to produce some PhD because of this research collaboration. So I believe this is very concrete because in Indonesia, we need more PhD, especially in economics at that time. And the Dutch, although we have to be honest, at the time at faculty, we were not that familiar to the Dutch system. We were, very US oriented. But then after we realized that collaboration with Dutch really benefits us, now we are sending also some of our young lecturers and researchers to do their master or PhD in Netherlands, and not only taking the degree, but more importantly, they also build research collaboration with those universities in Netherlands. Thank you.
Ingrid, Minister van Engelshoven.
Yes, well, I don't have I don't have an example of where it works, but what I do know is that when students come here for their master or their PhD from Indonesia, that it helps very much in our scientific cooperation to have this diversity of views, of experience, and that it really is an enabler of better science in the Netherlands. And also, I think we have good examples where through open science we could share results very easily and very quickly, and therefore enhance cooperation between scientists in Indonesia and the Netherlands. And I think having students from Indonesia and students from the Netherlands going to Indonesia helps us also to strengthen the ties between our universities, as my colleague just mentioned.
Very well. Very well. So we have a question for both ministers as the closing remarks, since we are we're going to start the kickoff of the event. So as we all know, science is more than ever has become important, especially with the pandemic. We can agree that we need more scientists everywhere in the world, including in Indonesia and also the Netherlands. So in your point of view, and you can make it very brief for the answer, how can this research and education collaboration help to strengthen the professional association who can contribute science and also policy integration? How can we merge science and, I guess, politics integration for the betterment of each country? I'll let Minister Ingrid first, and then Pa Bambang, you can conclude.
Well, I think this exactly what Winner does is bringing together scientists and policymakers in one conference and one platform. And that gives a unique opportunity to combine the best of both worlds. So also the scientific world and policymakers to strengthen the ties between our scientists, strengthen the ties between our policymakers, and inspire each other. So I think having more platforms like a Winner, and to bring research results together, have policy discussions together, will help to inspire a lot of people and have, I think, in both sides, so as in the Netherlands and in Indonesia, inspire people to work together in a scientific way. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe I agree with Minister Engelshoven about the importance of this event, Winner. At least the researchers in Indonesia, researchers and scientists in Indonesia, know what have been done by researchers and scientists in Netherlands and the other way around. And let me take one example that happened during the pandemic. We know that Indonesia has been able to make our own rapid tests for checking whether we are reactive or non-reactive to the COVID-19 virus. Of course, this is rapid test, so the accuracy is not 100%. But it is important to do the tracing using this rapid test. And when we are still trying to, improve the capacity of making this rapid test, I made the companies that supported by a scientist in Netherlands focusing only on rapid tests, not only on rapid tests of COVID-19, but they can make even rapid tests for, I believe, 30 to 40 different diseases, So I believe this is the area in which we know that, Netherlands actually is quite advanced in this area of the detection, disease detection or rapid test. And this is the area that Indonesia needs to learn. And I believe with the winner also, or the other way around, the Netherlands side, especially in the maybe social area, social science, culture, or humanity, can also learn from Indonesia. For example, how Indonesian trying to deal with COVID-19 from community perspective. Because this is the difference between Indonesia and Netherlands. Because we are more on community, maybe on Netherlands, like any other Western European countries, they are more on individual base. So how can we learn from each other dealing with COVID-19 pandemic? So winner is a good event to make each one of us, knowing each other very well.
A winner is a winner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Andini. Thanks so much. So indeed, unfortunately, we cannot be together, but we have tried to make some kind of formal opening to this event. So there's like an opening button, and let's see how it looks like, and then we can press it together. So I'm asking the organizers to arrange that, and then we can press that button together. If that can be pulled on the screen. Are we first going to take the group picture? I think that's also the idea that we're going to take a group picture. Okay, and there we go. We're opening.
Very well. I guess with that, winner is officially open. Pak Bambang, you can say a few words regarding this, the official opening of winner.
Yeah. I hope all participants in this winner, especially researchers from the two countries, can find this event fruitful and also useful, not only for, of course, your own personal interest, but more importantly for your national interest, especially in the field of science, technology, and innovation. And I do hope that any best practices coming from winner can also be translated into any other events related to science, technology, and innovation anywhere in Indonesia. So enjoy the event.
Thank you. Madam Ingrid.
Yes, I hope everyone will enjoy the event, but also I hope that winner will prove to be a good platform for future strategic cooperation between our two countries. And I hope also that it will be a good start to help us bring the SDG from paper, from ideals to practice. And I really believe there's a lot we can learn in the Netherlands from Indonesia, and I think Indonesia from the Netherlands. So please take the chance and try to learn from each other so that we in both countries can bring the SDGs into practice. Enjoy the event. Thank you.
Thank you. Ministers, before we let you go, there's one thing that we need to do as Indonesian. We love to take pictures, and now it's picture time, okay? The countdown is from me, from 3, 2, 1, picture. We have another one. 3, 2, 1. Very well. Thank you very much, Pak Bambang, Madam Minister. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. And hopefully it will be like an insightful and fruitful event for both countries. Dirk.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks. And we're moving over to the second part of the program while we are saying goodbye to the ministers. Prime ministers. The second part is actually the two of our top scientists. They will be speaking to us, and we're very glad that they were willing to join us. So the first scientist, maybe you can introduce him.
Okay, I will introduce the first one. It's such an honor for me to introduce Professor Bernard Lucas Ferringa of University of Groningen. Professor Bernard is the 2016 Nobel Prize laureate in chemistry. Professor Ferringa will be discussing the features of a knowledge economy. And who's the second one, Dirk?
Yeah, second one is Professor Dr. Engineer Daniel Muriarso of the Institute Pertanian in Bogor and principal scientist at CIFOR, so the Center for International Forestry Research. And I think he will be discussing mostly the knowledge that we need to combat one of the biggest crises of our time, climate change.
Enjoy the video.
While the video is being started, please note that we didn't answer all the Q&As yet by the ministers. It was not possible at the time, but we will respond to them. So stay tuned and we will address them. And there we go, the video is getting started.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. From frontier research to innovation and a sustainable society of the future, rethinking our research culture. It's an honor and a great pleasure to be able to briefly speak at this opening session of the Winners Symposium, the Week of Indonesia and Netherlands Education and Research. My name is Ferringa, Professor of Molecular Sciences at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. The theme of this week is Achieving Sustainable Development Goals from Knowledge to Practice. In my opinion, it offers tremendous opportunities to build on the strong, long-standing cooperation between our countries. looking forward how to achieve sustainable development goals, perhaps we should focus not so much on problems, but to look forward for opportunities and solutions. If we ask the question, how to shape our future, there is not one simple answer. But let me discuss a perspective from my experience in education and research. I'm teaching chemistry at the university and performing research both in molecular nanoscience and sustainable chemical processes and products. And we are constantly confronted with key questions. What are the major challenges? How to proceed forward? Which focus should we take towards our future? We all know predicting the future is difficult. So let me emphasize, as a scientist, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Starting with science and education, invest in basic science and enable our young scientists to experience the joy of discovery. Allow the young talents to look far beyond our current horizon. Give them freedom to explore and acquire knowledge. That is the key message I want to convey to you today. Scientific breakthroughs, real innovation, and building the sustainable society of the future starts at the bottom. It needs creativity and imagination. Education, excellent basic science, the training of young scientists, expose them to international cooperation and confront them with the frontiers of science. More than ever, knowledge will be power. It allows us to solve many of the problems facing society and provides opportunities for joint global development for a better world. And bringing knowledge to practice, we should realize that in the decades ahead, knowledge is economic power. Building knowledge means that we have to enable our students to achieve training at the international frontiers of science. It's not sufficient to give them training for today or tomorrow. We need to allow them to look far beyond current frontiers, as they will be the real innovators for society and industry in 10, 20 years from now. I'm a scientist working on molecular nanotechnology, building motors and machines, 1 billionth of a meter in size. And often I got the question, why do we need these tiny machines? The same question was asked to the Wright brothers, inventing the airplane. Slightly 100 years ago, they got the question, why does mankind need to fly? We are hearing a lot about the next industrial revolutions. Do not forget that scientists all over the world are working at the frontiers of knowledge to ultimately enable such revolutions. Nanotechnology, new energy storage systems, artificial intelligence, robotics, waste-free chemical processes driven by electricity and light, smart materials, or perhaps the genetic revolution via molecular biology, the basis for innovative medicine, based on detailed fundamental knowledge that we need so much these days of the COVID pandemic. Difficult to say which innovation will come first, but one thing is certain, it again will dramatically change our society and industries, and it offers tremendous opportunities all the way from basic discoveries to new technologies, opportunities for industry and society indeed to initiate a sustainable development from knowledge to practice. In fact, we have to indeed go far beyond our horizon and leave our comfort zone if we're really looking forward to the sustainable society of the future. Major investments in fundamental research and our young talents, and on top of that, cooperation between academia and industry to enable indeed real innovations in the decades to come. And time is pressing if we consider how to feed another 2.5 to 3 billion people, how to build alternative energy systems, how to power our aircrafts in the future, or how to design better drugs, just to mention a few of the demanding questions. We will not succeed with only short-term, top-down solutions. Enable our young scientists to stumble by accident on some completely unforeseen or not planned discoveries. These unexpected discoveries are using groundbreaking and make the real difference. Create excellent research environments, stimulate international cooperation and bring diverse expertises together. Allow leading scientists to work for a longer period on the most challenging questions that will really make a difference. And it made it possible for me to realize important scientific breakthroughs, working with young talents from 16 different countries in my team and cooperating with experts, science and engineers from many other scientific disciplines and groups all over the world. It was crucial to pave my path to Stockholm and make discoveries that led to innovative processes in industry. Science and education has no borders, and strong cooperation will bring us forward. For several years now, I had the pleasure to experience a strong cooperation with several scientists in your country, and in particular Bambang University, where young professors that got their Ph.D. degree in Groningen are now leading scientists. Earlier this year, just before the crisis, I visited Indonesia and lectured at several places, and I had intense discussions, in particular also with students, to bring the message about the role of scientific research for the future and the importance of education and knowledge. I experienced a lot of enthusiasm and a great spirit. We also have had for many years the opportunity to exchange students. They were engaged both in fundamental studies, but also in multidisciplinary research projects, together with our engineers and in cooperation with major industries. The goal was to develop new technologies, among others, to considerably reduce waste in novel processes and the production of medicines. I wish to give much credit to these young talents, and I'm convinced that the exposure of students to the international scientific scene, working in a highly competitive environment and in teams with scientists from many countries and backgrounds, stimulates enormously and is crucial to enter what is called the main stage of science and innovation. Based on the experience I just mentioned in the past decades, I'm convinced that there are tremendous opportunities for cooperation between our countries. I would welcome to strengthen our exchange of students and build more joint research programs, focusing, for instance, on sustainable chemical processes and products, energy carriers, agriculture and water, to mention a few of our common strengths. And from my personal perspective as a molecular scientist with a view towards future medicine, I would like to see a program taking advantage of nature's gifts, exploring biodiversity. There must be many precious treasures to discover. If we look at the road ahead, the path to the future of our young talents that we have to educate, the steps to the next discovery or innovation, more than ever, we are guided by major societal and industrial questions indeed. They will achieve ample attention during this conference. It's beyond any doubt crucial to address such questions. Looking at my own career, having spent substantial periods working for multinational Shell, it was indeed an important experience to confront my students with the relevance of the research work for industry and society. And yes, we are strategically cooperating with industry at the moment, and this will be more important in the future to bring scientific discovery to real innovations. But also more than ever, we have to be alert that the path to our future society might be a completely different one than we consider now. Ladies and gentlemen, it will not at all be sufficient to do more of the same. We deeply have to think about our research culture, making ample space for our young talents and start at universities and research institutes to think bold. Create a major playground at the bottom to discover. Industry and governments should consider how much they are willing to invest to establish the basis for the society and economy of tomorrow. Perhaps it's urgent to be a bit more daring. We need courage and risk-taking. If we really want to invent our future and come with entire new possibilities. Real innovation starts at the bottom. And that will also help to encourage our young people to become entrepreneurs, start their own new businesses. Let's not forget that the iPhone, introduced only 14 years ago, completely changed our world. The way we now communicate and share information use our smartphones. But let's also not forget that the fundamental discoveries on transistors and liquid crystal display materials by physics and chemistry in the 40s and 50s of the past century that allowed us to build these smartphones. And remember, John Goodenough did major fundamental discoveries on the lithium battery in the 70s, which not only brought him the Nobel Prize in Chemistry last year, but also made it possible that we can now build electric cars and smartphones. It took decades, and no one would have predicted this dramatic innovation in industry and society. Similar fundamental discoveries are currently happening in robotics, sustainable catalysis for chemical processes, energy carriers, novel biomedical technologies based on genomics. Starting point for real breakthrough innovations for a greener, healthier, and less energy demanding society? As you can conclude from my message, I strongly advocate challenge our young talents, give opportunity to work on demanding questions, freedom to discover and let them benefit from international training and experience, build strong international programs and bring experts together in areas where we can make a real difference, strategically cooperate with industry and societal partners with a vision towards real innovation and shortening routes towards practice for scientists, but with each partner having its distinctive role. And invest to establish strong basic science there where science is perhaps most powerful. We face a wake-up call for sustainability, and collective knowledge will make the difference. Am I tiny machines, molecular nanotechnology, science or science fiction? You perhaps will remember this in 20, 30 years from now, when we hopefully have realized self-healing materials, a scratch in your car that repairs itself, smart windows that clean themselves, or perhaps, in a bit more distant future, tiny robots that do precision surgery, from frontier research to future innovations. Looking at science and our future sustainable world, there are indeed great opportunities for our country. Do not forget, scholars have no borders. We are all part of a joint scientific family with a common mission to make discoveries for a sustainable world, raise the level of knowledge and quality of thought, and our most important duty, educate and give training to our young students, the next generation that will shape our countries. Let me finish to emphasize, human imagination and creativity is really sustainable in this world. I want to thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a very stimulating Winter Symposium this week, and I look forward to fine cooperation on science and education in the years to come.
Thank you, Professor Ferringa. That was very inspirational, especially to the young scientists. I think you are really challenging them to make the best out of their career and come up with great innovations for future generations. Thank you so much. And I see that the next speaker can also inspire us. It's Professor Moderator of the C4, and he has also a message for us.
Hello, my name is Daniel Moderator. I am a principal scientist at the Center for International Forestry Research, C4, and professor at the IPB University, Bogor. Today, I would like to share with you a story about a very important ecosystem called wetland, which has very important role in mitigating and adapting to climate change. This ecosystem also have many things in common between our two countries, Indonesia and the Netherlands. So in the context of winter, it is very timely to talk about this ecosystem for two reasons. One, because it is very much related to the way its response and also use to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Secondly, because wetland has many things in common between Indonesia and the Netherlands. We've been going through a lot of collaboration on this aspect in the past, and hopefully we can enhance the collaboration in the future. Another thing that are in common is that our two countries have commitment to reduce emission of greenhouse gases, as both countries are signatories of the Paris Agreement. Countries are expected to reduce emissions so that the greenhouse gases level will not cause an increase of temperature more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. Following the report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, the planet will be affected by climate change as the temperature will be increasing up to 4 to 5 degrees Celsius at the end of this century. If we do it carelessly, but if we do it carefully, we might be able to reduce the emission and causing the increase of temperature not more than 1.5 degrees C. Another threat that we commonly have is the increase of sea level. So sea level will be rising up to 1 meter in the worst scenario. So countries like Indonesia and the Netherlands will be very much affected by this kind of situation because we have many small islands and also low-lying coastal zones. At the end of this decade, it is expected that we will be reducing emissions so much, at least half of the current emissions should be reduced. So now we have around 60 billion tons of carbon dioxide, and it has to be reduced almost half. And towards 2030, we will be lack of target of as much as 15 billion tons, sorry. And if we want to reduce it and causing an increase of temperature less than 1.5 degree, we have a gap of 30 billion tons, and that is a lot. So our countries, Indonesia and the Netherlands and the European Union as a whole, face to this challenge to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases. And we see that ecosystem like mangrove as part of the wetland has the opportunity to achieve such a commitment because we in Indonesia have around 3 billion tons of carbon stored in mangrove ecosystem. Unfortunately, in the past 20-30 years ago, mangrove has been deforested with a rate of about 6%, and that is causing an increase of greenhouse gases about 200 million tons a year. 200 million tons a year is about 30% of the land-based emission of Indonesia. And to give you that a perspective, that amount is similar to 40 million fewer cars in the road. So if we manage to reduce emission or avoid deforestation in this particular ecosystem, we will be able to reduce so much carbon emission in the air. So mangrove has a very crucial role in mitigating climate change globally, not only in Indonesia, but also globally. The capacity is about 1 billion tons globally. Every year, we can reduce it by avoiding deforestation of mangrove, or even better, if we can restore the degraded one. So how can we help government to mainstream this kind of idea in mitigating climate change using wetland? The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, has provided a guideline how to include wetlands, including mangrove, to be part of the nationally determined contribution, so that we can calculate how much emission can be reduced if mangrove is incorporated there. It also has a similar kind of timeline in terms of achieving this goal with the Sustainable Development Goal towards 2030. So in 2 years' time, countries will be preparing the so-called stock taking in 2023, and this particular guideline can be used to calculate the emission and sequestration of carbon from ecosystem, including mangrove. On the adaptation side, mangrove has crucial role in terms of adapting with sea level rise. It also has a huge human imperative if we look at the role of mangrove, not only in building land, we can see here the possibility of mangrove to capture sediment. So if we made investment on this, there will be huge benefits that we can gain in 10, 15 years. Globally, it has been predicted that if we invested 1.3 trillion this year, in 10 years' time, the net benefit will be about 7 trillion US dollar. That numbers come from the Global Commission on Adaptation that is led by Mr. Ban Ki-moon. So it is quite an interesting phenomena how mangrove is part of this action among other sectors that can be used to adapt with climate change. Why is mangrove playing that role? Number one, because it is a land builder. So people will be protected from flooding, and at the same time, in this ecosystem, which has a very high total ecosystem value, about 90,000 per hectares. Just give you in a comparison, the TEV of oil palm per hectare is about 8,000, and this ecosystem is 90,000. So this amount coming from various aspects that they can provide, including the land builder aspect. So we measure in the field how much sediment can be trapped by mangrove. It is about 4 to 5 millimeter a year, while sea level is rising about 1 to 2 millimeter a year. So the homes and agriculture and activities behind the mangrove will be protected from flooding. Hotels, tourism facilities will be protected from mangrove. That's why the economic value of having mangrove standing is very high. Not only that, adaptation has a very crucial role in sustaining aquaculture. Fish can be caught if you have mangrove, because the juvenile, the egg will be laid over in the mangrove area. People can raise mud crabs because it is the very ecosystem where this particular species can be raised very productively. And then not to mention about the role in ecotourism. So there are many ecosystem services that can be provided by mangrove. This proboscis monkey is very cute. This is the male one, very grown up, and is quite an attraction for area like Central Kalimantan, East Kalimantan, where you have mangrove. This particular species will be there. We don't have spoonbill like this, but in many places, this particular birds, migratory bird, will be sitting there and enjoy their trips while they have fish below it, so that they can also survive during their travel. So winner in the future will have many opportunities to enhance this kind of services, not only on carbon, beyond carbon. Ecosystem services can be enhanced in the future through our collaboration. And also, it's no need to mention about the role in building the capacity of young people. We can use the education scheme to again enhance the capacity of our young people, the future generation of this country, and also in the Netherlands. Thank you very much.
Very well. Thank you, Professor Daniel Murdiarso and Professor Ferringa for the message. And that conclude our kickoff event this afternoon or this morning, Netherlands time. Thank you very much for all participants who are watching with us, whether it's through Zoom or through YouTube channel, M.U.P YouTube channel. And don't go anywhere because Dirk will come back. And what is the topic of your session, Dirk?
Yes, indeed. Well, they are allowed to get a cup of coffee or tea or have a small break. But in about 15 minutes, we're going back for a session on biodiversity for society and society for biodiversity. So I hope to see everybody back in about 15 minutes. But there's so many interesting sessions being organized over the coming days. So I hope to see you there, all of you, over the coming days. And more information will be displayed on the screen if you're a bit lost where to go. Don't worry, everything will be projected on the screen. Thanks once again for your active participation, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, hope to see you soon, guys. And then please check out Winner YouTube channel for the recorded show, the recorded program of this afternoon or this morning in Netherlands time. Thank you very much, all. And Dirk, I'll see you again on day 3.
Excellent.
See you. Bye, everyone. Have a great session.